Hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Leigh Browne, who's the Global Vice President for Technology and Consumer Electronics for Hellman's. And our subject matter today is the 3PL sector. Thank you for joining us today, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, David. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you give us an overview of Hellman's, what you do and its position in the supply chain sector, please?
Sure. Very briefly, Hellman is what's called a freight forwarder. So we are a global player in the freight forwarding industry. One of the oldest freight forwarders, actually founded in 1871. So a real legacy of service and operations around the world. We help companies to move goods around the world, either by sea or air. We also offer contract logistics or warehousing services and various other subsectors within those services, like reverse logistics and expedited services, and indeed in-night deliveries across Europe. So we have a number of different services that we focus on, but the predominant market for Hellman is international air freight and sea freight.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I ask everyone this question: what brought you into the lovely logistics sector?
Well, I tripped over it in the early 90s. I wasn't planned for sure, but a little company called TNT had a location near where I lived back in the time in the Southwest. And there was a sales job coming up available. And I went and joined that business. And it was a very exciting time in the industry where the industry had really been used to what I would call a 2-day or 48-hour or 72-hour service, and TNT came in and revolutionized the business by saying, no, we're going to do it in 24 hours or a next day service. And that was even really revolutionary back in those days. Quite surprising nowadays, where you expect things to be, almost delivered immediately. And it was a real USP for the business. So it was a great time to be part of TNT, an exciting business, well led and good fun. And they knew how to look after people well, which was part of the reason that I loved my time there. And then I've eventually moved through different roles and different positions in the industry to now work with Hellman.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. And you already given us a good overview of your business and how long it's been trading. If you used to describe the current challenges in the marketplace, how would you describe them?
How would I describe my challenges? Well, I think being an international company with locations literally spread across the globe, more than 250 sites in nearly 50 countries, we have challenges in every region as geopolitical changes occur or wars occur, or let's say even weather events, and something that we've experienced in the last few weeks in the UK, where we've had lots of storms, etc. It causes chaos both on the roads and the rails and for the airports. So, but the biggest challenges we're facing at the moment is probably geopolitical. Certainly the Trump administration is going to cause some challenges for us going forward with some of the markets we're operating in, specifically Mexico, Canada. That's a bit of a question mark, and Asia, which is also something that we're very significantly involved in. So we're just waiting to see what shakes out of the tree. Every day is a school day, because wake up in the morning and there's something else happened globally. There's never the same story each day. What our customers really are looking for within Hellman, but also I'm sure across the industry, is they like and they need consistency and reliability, and somebody that's going to give them open and transparent information so that they can plan their in scheduling their deliveries, etc., to ensure that their customers are serviced.
Yeah, that's great. And almost two questions on the back of that, if that's okay. One, how do you communicate what's going on? And secondly, do you almost have to sort of predict the future to help them make the right choices?
That's a really good question. So I'll answer the first one. Well, I'll ask you a first question. So we communicate obviously by all mediums. So we have a team of specialists or account managers around the world that look after clients very intensely, and they would obviously feed that information internally. We use all different portals and different systems for communication and emails, etc. So we talk to our customers regularly. We have a daily bulletin and a weekly bulletin and a monthly update as well, to give them trends in the industry, to show show what's happening around the world with regards to sea freight, air freight, etc. So ultimately, we're in a position to be able to communicate things quite quickly. As far as forecasting, that's a challenge, and I think that's where everybody is, because frankly, the changes in the industry, changes in the marketplace, and are significant. I mean, if you asked me the question 20 years ago or 10 years ago about AI, I probably would have laughed at it and gone, that didn't, what is that going to be? And frankly, that's now a key part of our systems and processes. We're using technology to support our understanding and planning and thinking as well. So we are trying to forward forecast certainly where we're going to see volumes coming in. We're using historical data as well as what we know about the market. But the challenges are just so vast that you can't really be very easily accurately forecasting. It's going to be tough. It's tough.
Okay, no, it's good. Okay, and thanks for going through those, because I know we're a bit off the plan there. Mm-hmm. What do you see, or what do Hellman see as the sort of biggest challenges, and opportunities for yourselves in the next 3 to 5 years? And AI may be one of those, or may be the one.
Yeah, sure. The biggest opportunity I think we see is that our business is very focused. So from a Hellman perspective, we're very focused on looking at intense relationships with the client. Being a family-owned business, we're not reliant on share price or the market changing. So when we make a decision, what's really cool about Hellman is we can stick to the narrative that we want to have. So we're not being driven by, quarterly results, etc. What we are doing is we're very much focusing on sort of like I would call new areas of business, new areas of development. So e-vehicles, new technologies, renewables, healthcare and technology, which is my part of the business. So where we're seeing some significant growth is in some sort of areas of AI, as you already mentioned, but also in things like servers and supporting servers and semicon industry. Those are the sort of markets we're really looking to try and expand into, and are looking into how we can better position ourselves to actually develop our market. Growth is going to come in a number of areas. We believe healthcare is probably one of the key sectors as well as potentially with the new EV automotive sector growing rapidly and replacing the traditional petrol engine or diesel engine vehicles. So there's quite a focus on those markets at the moment internally, as well as renewables, because frankly, although that topic has been changed somewhat, and the focus in some markets because of the economy is less, let's just say, it's less important maybe, but it isn't less important, and it will be something that I think we'll all have to start moving towards more rapidly rather than less rapidly. And with government policies about carbon offsets and carbon footprint reductions coming in with legislation, I think we'll see some acceleration in that area as well.
Yeah, good. And also, you being a global entity, there's so many moving parts, and like say political, geographical. There's all sorts of things going on all the time, which you must plan for and react to daily, but also be planning for in the future, which must be a challenge for every business to position yourself for the future. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things, I've noticed in the last 2 or 3 years is the movement of companies from focusing on China to actually manufacturing in countries like, I don't know, Malaysia, Indonesia, but specifically India, some of the LATAM countries, Mexico, etc. And what we're, Hellman is very well positioned in those parts of the world because we've put a lot of inward investment. So when you talk about forward forecasting or forward planning, we're actually focusing a lot of our investment into the Indian market, for example, which we can see is going to be the next real massive economic driver for probably for manufacturing.
Oh, fantastic. That's really good. And thanks for going for that. It's interesting because when you talk to different people, you find out different aspects of every business, geopolitical, you've got things like the Red Sea, all those things that are going on and changing every day that, must affect your clients and from manufacturing, because the lead time of getting them to market, wherever they're going in the world, not just coming to the UK, they're going, across cross border, across the world. It's very interesting. Okay, what are people in the sector perhaps not talking about that they should be?
Oh, that's a really big question as well. If I look globally, and it's a global question, but actually it also relates to the UK as well and Europe, I really think the biggest challenge we face is driver recruitment at the bottom line. And actually encouraging and finding people to join this industry, which has traditionally been a real male-orientated industry, to make our industry more diverse, to ensure that we appeal to the younger generation, to ensure that they feel that logistics is something that's an attractive business to join and has a future for them. So I'm quite passionate about encouraging students and younger people to take a look at our business. But I actually think short term, and certainly for the next period of time, is until we come up with a more automated system of delivery somehow, and maybe the the Amazon drop boxes and other systems like that has got some legs, because it actually simplifies the delivery process and we don't have to have deliveries to our doors. We've seen that huge growth in that area. But I do think driver shortages and driver challenges going forward are going to be the thing that we're probably not talking enough about, and we're playing with it, but we're not really dealing with it, if that makes any sense.
No, that's very interesting. And, something, because obviously, I'm based in the UK and most of my clients are in the UK based. When you talk to people, are there the same issues around the world, about, because logistics
Yes,
isn't sexy,
it's funny.
but it's
It's
critical.
funny. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, when you go to the US and you talk to driver shortages, I can't remember the data I saw a couple of years ago, but I think the average age of a truck driver in the US is, I'm going to say, mid 50s. That's a time bomb for the US. That's a big problem. And I'm sure it's not massively dissimilar to Europe. The average age of a driver will be certainly well into I would say, average over 40, maybe 45. And that's a challenge for us. And it's a challenge for the industry as a whole. And the combination of that and the pressure that we're being put under to from a renewable perspective, from an environmental sustainability perspective, is really, really difficult to manage all the things with trucks on the road, diesel trucks, electric trucks. When are they going to come in? When are these trucks going to be available to really take on the world? Cost prohibitive, range prohibitive, and all these things. So, but the key thing is, you haven't got drivers. It doesn't matter whether you've got an EV or not. If you haven't got drivers, it's not going to move. So are we going to see a transition to rail, but the rail infrastructure is not there to support it to the level we need it to be supporting? So there's so many questions around this single topic of what are we doing about drivers, because I see them as ambassadors for all businesses, and certainly from a Hellman perspective, it's really important that we ensure that they feel loved and cherished and valued, and it's a role that I think has been undervalued for many years.
Yeah, I agree totally. And also, maybe we need some government support legislation in all the countries to help drive it, And I know that, wherever you are in the world, every country has got their own different challenges. But you see almost some legislation to encourage it, or maybe some, tax breaks to encourage it, that you can get some money back for investing, because the next generation of logisticians and that won't make, if they can't fall into it like we did, I hope they do, but we just need to keep refreshing it. And it's a very dynamic, interesting sector that we all love, and that's part of the reason this logistics plane was created. One, to talk about it, but also to make people aware of how exciting, and when you talk to people, how passionate we are about it and what it works. So no, that's really good, and let's hope that over time that can happen in the different parts of the world, and maybe someone can almost set a benchmark that others can replicate that works. Please, Lord, that'd be great. You sort of mentioned it a couple of times already, or hinted towards it. How do you see the green transition, again, you're looking from a global perspective, impacting the sector?
Well, that's a really great question, and one that is probably a predominant thought in Hellman, but I'm sure across all industry, or all our industry, is how do we transition to a more green or sustainable transport mechanisms, and whether it's biofuels or whether it's EVs, or even drone deliveries, which is something that Hellman is trialing and looking at, and I know a number of our competitors are as well. certainly for rural deliveries. Um, this transition will happen whether we like it or not, and by the time it comes in, and I hope it comes well in before my retirement date, but I'd like to see that there would be more adoption to more renewable sustainable systems and solutions. What is prohibiting people is the cost, and also the ability to deliver to the quality that they can currently with the current systems or solutions. And I think we'll also see a transition with air transport. I've been watching some information recently, or watching some videos recently about some aircraft that are flying now quite long journeys using only electricity, electric engines. And that's going to be something that's going to be quite revolutionary for our industry as well. I'm not sure whether it's going to give us the speed. That's the challenge, because most of the drones, even at the fastest speed, they're not at jet speed. So we'll have to see how that progresses. But it's a key thing. And the one thing that I think we forget is it's not us that needs to do it. It's actually everybody that needs to do it, and everybody needs to be asking us. And I think what we're also seeing is our customers are demanding it, because their customers are starting to demand, what are they doing about sustainability? What are they doing about protecting our planet that we live on? And as the younger generations start to progress into more senior roles, the millennials and the Gen Zs moving to more senior roles, they're asking the question. My kids are asking the question all the time. They're interested in this topic, and I think it's at our cost if we ignore it. So it's certainly something that's very high on Hellman's agenda, for sure. And we have a whole team, a project team and teams based around that, and how we can invest in trialing systems. And we're very, very open to solutions. And we have an innovation center in Hamburg that's looking at a lot of different things that we can do to optimize some of the solutions we have.
Oh, great. And again, it's not an easy question to ask, but do you think market forces will make it happen, or do you think it needs to be driven by legislation from?
It's a really easy question. It's legislation. It's got to come from the government or central. From my perspective, unless the government steps up and says we're going to do this, and maybe we're going to be an outlier in globally, but until somebody actually drives that agenda from a central point of view, from a government perspective, and actually puts the right incentives in place as well, because without those incentives, businesses won't survive. And business is a challenge at the moment, with all the different pressures that Rachel Reeves has put on the UK, for example, with the budget that we've just had, that is really causing a lot of challenges, and other cost prohibitors makes businesses fail, quite frankly. And we've just become more sort of sustainably able to deliver solutions.
But there's a cost to serve, isn't there, for all those? So that's the challenge, isn't it? There's a cost to serve. Okay. And what development in the sector has surprised you most in your career?
Oh, that's a big question. I think there's a couple of things. The pace of outsourcing. Outsourcing warehouses. Traditionally, when I came into the industry, XYZ company would run their own warehouse, and they would have a transport company that would come in and pick up their freight, or they'd run a fleet of trucks branded by XYZ company. Now the movement towards outsourcing, or 3PL, has accelerated over the last 20 years. That's been quite not surprise, but the scale of it's been quite surprising. I think the technology changed, the way that we've now got. I mean, when I came into the industry, I was using a card deck system. David, I don't even know if you know what that is, but the old Rolodex system for keeping information about my clients.
Yeah.
I didn't have an IT system, and then TNT brought in this the first ever CRM system I'd ever seen, which was fantastic. Now with my my laptop, my mobile devices, I can actually I can see information about my clients real live time. I can see where their trucks are live time. I can see where their freight is live time, and actually really interact much more accurately, more smartly with my customers, to ensure that they're getting the information they need. So I think technology is, and as I said at the top of the call, AI is just something I never envisaged. I mean, it's just, I thought Google was incredible when we had the Google search tools, but to have the AI to be able to search through pieces of information for bits of information I want and help me create documents and respond to clients' questions, etc. It's just very powerful. It means that everything's speeding up. What's the next step? I don't know. Where's it going? I think AI is not going to replace every task in our industry, because there's clearly loads of tasks that can't be. But what it's going to do is make those tasks faster, quicker, more accurate. And I think that's the bit we should be endorsing it and embracing it rather than be fearful.
Yeah, yeah, and when you talk to people like you do and I do and we all do, yeah, it's hard to see where AI comes, because there's some sinister sides to it, from both from employment and future employment for our children, all those things, but also there's some great efficiencies, effectiveness, and can take some really mundane jobs that no one likes doing, even if it's your job, take them out of the equation and do them quicker, more efficiently and more effectively, and ultimately make us more efficient, which may drive the green transition we're talking about. So that's very good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. The final question I'm asking to everyone is, if you could speak to the Prime Minister, what would you ask them to do to help your business to grow and flourish?
It's such a big question that I sort of struggled with one answer, because I think I'd like to ask him a load of questions. I think the key one for me is, and it's a today issue, and it's probably a local issue, probably to the UK particularly, is the change to the national insurance for employees is going to kill a lot of SMEs, small businesses, and the recognition that we rely on small businesses as a country to keep this economy going. It's somehow shooting yourself in the foot. That's how it feels to me. Not being a small business, but I'm sure that's how a lot of small industries are feeling, or businesses are feeling. And I'm worried about the retail sector. I think that's falling down rapidly, and that worries me as well. So, I'd like to ask Sir Keir, what is he going to do to sustain small businesses in the face of this huge increase in costs that he's put in place? And then on a macro scale is just to sort of make sure he is trying to fight for our corner on a global scale with regards to duties and access to markets, because quite frankly, the world is becoming more insular, not more open, and we're seeing that even in even in the Far East and every region of the world, that countries are now looking inwards and not outwards as much as they were, which is really sad. It's a real change in the market, and I think he needs to get his team working hard to put a flag in UK PLC again, and make us an attractive proposition to the market.
No, thank you. And it's really interesting hearing your global perspective to that, because often we, just see things from the UK market, but your global perspective is really useful. So just want to say thank you, Chris, so much for your time and give us a good overview of Hellman's, what you do, and what's going on in the marketplace. Thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Dave. Cheers.